went to ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that some people
my friend invented it.
that are entering in this age of AI, and it feels like, how do you bet on the next thing?
Say people start living forever. So how do entities look when people stop dying? A lot of great companies have come out and tried to do pharmaceuticals or whatever, but they all get commandeered by profit interests and shareholders. How can you create a company that starts good and stays good?
Spirituality and capitalism belong together. Those thoughts, those feelings, that comes from something bigger than I am. And together I believe we can all grow. That's how we're going to change the world. That's how we're going to change the planet.
All right, so I'm sitting here today with Scott Paul, and he goes by many different names. He's more of a character from what I can. The more I look at him, the more the character I realize he actually is. I mean, look at what he's wearing today. He goes by the name of Merlin when it comes to the venture capital world, and we'll get into that a little bit.
Okay,
Also, Crypto Jesus and
Or
the
Judas.
digital. Oh, Judas. Okay.
Sometimes people call me Crypto Judas. They feel like I've betrayed some of the cryptos.
and the I would say kind of the digital shaman of when it comes to FI. And so you've got all these different names that you've been going by. You've got 9 years in venture capital as an angel investor, heavily marketed here in the Utah area. You have 2 exits underneath your belt, one with Disney. I mean, you've really got quite the life that you've lived, for being in your 40s. And it's a real pleasure to have you on today. And I really want to just dive in deep to a lot of your stories, maybe some advice that you can give people that might be thinking about investing or starting companies. And just so you know, we're just here to have a conversation. There's no interview here. There's no gotchas. This is simply a way to, connect heart to heart. And
that's the only way I know how to do it.
I know.
So, yeah,
I absolutely can tell that for sure. So what an honor, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks I'm glad we got to meet here, and this is our first, the audience probably knows the first time us meeting in person. So
Absolutely.
It's what you're seeing here comes from a short time of knowing each other, and we'll get raw because I don't think I'm already vibing with you. So thanks for bringing me out to that nice coffee I got, with oat milk latte, and that was delicious. And now I'm ready to go.
Yeah, you are ready to go. You're like, all right, let's get this going.
I love it. Let's have a combo, and it can go anywhere, by the way.
Thank you so much. So one of the things, just kind of go a little bit back on your history. You started your company off years ago, and what I love about the story of how you fell into your company is that
we're talking FI.
We're not talking FI.
Oh, another company.
We're going way back to where you were doing a lot of this stuff with the helicopters. And And then you started to see this marketplace.
Yeah.
And what I love about the story so much, that we'll get into in a second, is in that company, is there had to be this moment in time where you had to actually take a hard pivot. And it wasn't what you thought it was going to be.
Yep.
So if you want to just explain a little bit of that backstory and why you took that pivot, I think it's really good for people that are.
It's just like I was at that time. This is 2007, 8, 9, 10. I was pivoting every 6 months because I could not. I'm just really quick to say, oh, this just isn't. The people are not responding. I do experiments very quickly to figure out if I'm getting the responses I need. And so it started, just to give a quick timeline of how much I had to pivot to find that, is I was selling advertising to hotels as a day job to pay for my my MBA. And on the same time, I'm trying to create drones in the very beginning of drones, because a company I had just come from was doing helicopters, RC controlled, putting these massive cameras on and I'm like, this is just too difficult. It takes 2 people to film, 1 to fly, 1 to film. And these drones are coming out. Very beginning, 2008, you see these microcopters, they were calling them, but it had 8 blades on them. Like, this is a safe way to film aerial footage. I got to figure out how to make those. So I bought one from Germany and got it sent here. Probably one of the first ones that landed in Utah. Built it out. I had my engineer friend do it. Crashed it on the first try. $8,000 blew up on it, and it's just like, oh, this is too hard. So then I keep pivoting. I'm like, not going to rebuy that. I got to do something else. I find this way to. I see as I'm going to all these hotels to sell every day, hotel packages for Utah.com is called. I'm thinking I need to sell them aerial footage. I need to sell them YouTube videos. I'm like, what do I sell them? And the iPad comes out and gets announced in 2010, early 2010. I'm like, I want to take this iPad and put it in and replace all those brochures that you see in hotels. And so I'm like, I'm pivoting again. I'm like, screw the drones, screw all that. I'm going to make software that allows hotels that have digital kiosk, touchscreens through this very inexpensive iPad. And so I go around with the iPad, and I find online this like metal case to show how it could be like a kiosk. And this is where all of my investigation finally paid off, because I was trying to get people to agree with the idea I was pitching. Like, you need this in your hotel. You need this. What the hotels were telling me is they're like, we like that. We like the idea of putting that nice iPad in our lobby. We don't want your software, but that case that it's in, can we have that? And I'm like, you want the case? Like, I'm showing you the world. You can have all these videos and incredible, like, cool experience, and you just want the case to show off your rooms, to touch screen, show off the rooms. And here's where this is a moment in my life of learning how to pivot. I didn't stick to my guns and say, like, no, I got to push through and get the software done. I had already hired a company to write the software. So I'm already sunk cost. And I go back to them like, guys, can you actually just make me a website for this metal case? I'm going to make a lot of these real fast and just see if I can sell those. And they're like, okay, let's change the name of the company, change the whole idea. And I listened to these hotel operators, and that was the first. Everything I'd done up to there was just kind of fumbling. And then finally listened to the feedback of these customers, and that I created the first scaled company doing iPad enclosures, and that was the URL. I remember in my MBA at the back of the room, I was bored out of my mind listening to the teachers. I bought the URL at the company I had hired to make the software, made this website, and from that day forward, it was hard as hell, but it was one thing I didn't have to do was go find the customer. They were coming to me because of this new invention that the iPad was for the business community. So that was like pivot for 4 years, every 6 months, and then finally just listen to what someone was telling me they wanted. And you have to have enough like sense to go like, I don't need to push through with my idea. Let's just give what the market wants. And that was my first kind of venture that was successful because I pivoted.
I love that. There's two big lessons I think to take out of that. One is to take action.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there you are in school, you're studying your craft, but you're not just studying books. You're actually studying the craft and you're doing something with it.
Yep.
And you buy the domain name.
Yep.
Not exactly sure. I'm sure you probably didn't know a whole lot about SEO.
I didn't
and
know shit.
That's like a really happy accident, right?
That's totally what I realized in the whole story. It was I got a keyword that became what people were searching, and that was so the SEO was a lucky thing for that time of Google and stuff. I didn't even know that. So
and what's really cool about the story is that it starts to bring you in some top quality, big time businesses. I mean, you were telling me like early Uber, you're bringing on, individuals from all over the world that are looking to use this from more of a B2B perspective.
Yeah, the companies that were wanting to do it were the day I quit my day job selling to the hotel industry was when I went up to my boss and said, I had a car, I had insurance, I had a young family. It was not the right thing to do at the time. And like all things considered, you don't just quit a good job getting paid what I was getting paid for that time in my life to go start something that is not producing a profit yet. But it was, I had Walmart. I had one day where Walmart called me and they were wanting to put in like many stores at the end caps, kind of like kiosks that could help people find stuff in the aisles and stuff. And then I think right after that, it was Public Storage or someone wanted to have like their contract lease agreement on every single public storage where you're signing it as like on a clipboard, but it's a digital kiosk. I'm like, these companies are not going to stop calling, and I need to be putting time into making sure that I can service these customers. We ended up not getting the Walmart deal, but it was enough for me to say, quit the day job. I went in and kind of had a heart moment with the boss and said, I got to go do this thing. Something feels like this is the time to jump off a cliff. And so I remember that day so clearly because it's a big deal when you sacrifice that safety of the paycheck, of the health insurance when with the young family. And I have a friend right now who has that safety at a job at Microsoft, but he's been doing a side project, and he just reached out to me 2 weeks ago and said, I did it. I jumped. And I'm like, I know deep down that's the right answer for him because it's uncapped what he's going to be able to do with his personal company, and he was feeling stuck at that Microsoft work, and so that's in every entrepreneur's life. They need to kind of premeditate what the jumping point is, and I don't think just jumping off prematurely. Like it took Walmart calling me to like convince me that I got something. I got to go with this.
I like that. I would say I'm the opposite. I would say I jump. Like I'm like, okay, we're just gonna jump. We're gonna do it, and you know what? We're gonna learn on the way down.
That's not wrong.
There's two different ways of thinking about that, right? Like there's the way of saying, hey, I've got a steady job. I'm doing this. I also believe sometimes it's about showing the universe you're willing to burn all of your boats. You're willing to burn everything because you believe in something so much, and you're gonna figure it out as you go. But that's
actually the important thing. I didn't believe in this enough.
There you go.
I didn't. It wasn't like bringing the world a new enclosure for a new device wasn't a purpose that I was like all my life. If I can just do that, I wanted a chance to be an entrepreneur. So this was enough for me to do it. Now, what you're saying, if you believe in something and it's your main, like you want to do that for the rest of your life type of thing, you jump immediately. Yeah, that's a different. You don't even have a choice. It's so hard. You're driven. You can't resist not jumping because that is your belief. And so I think that's a different thing we can talk about as purpose.
I think it's a difference between being how do I say this? An entrepreneur that's doing it because like it sounds fun or it's like this new thing. But there's some of us that it's been ingrained. It's been like so much part of our souls.
Yeah.
Like I did a little bit of research. I mean, your father, this was his path as well.
He's done his own thing. So I kind of saw it growing up.
Did you see the heartache? Let me ask you. So did you see the heartache of being an entrepreneur from your father as well? Or was it really just nice and smooth for your dad?
It was probably, there was heartache, but for better or worse, my parents did not really share in the heartache of their ventures. I remember my dad had a partner take a lot of money at one point or not follow through on something, and I just briefly heard about it, and I didn't know if it meant we're going to the poorhouse or not. I was just like, what does this mean? I remember I had a birthday party right around that time, and he was giving my friends, I think it was like I was turning 11 or something, or 12, and he was giving my friends challenges and paying them out if they could do these feats of strength. And I was like whispering to my friends on the side, like, I don't know. I mean, I know he's saying he can pay you $5, but like, I think he just got ripped off from, and we might not like. It was there was uncertainty, and I just didn't know, and so in a way, I wasn't really taught the downsides or the fears, and so I never really saw him have fear, and so I guess it's the latter. I actually really just saw it as there's a lot of upside, a lot of freedom, if you're really cognizant and like careful in how you work for yourself versus working for someone else. So I had a really good example, but I also didn't have like a reality check, and so I had to go figure it out myself. I thought it was all why wouldn't you be an entrepreneur? Why I never heard my dad complain once about jobs or hard work or anything. I never heard anything like that. So all I ever heard is like people that were miserable were usually like working for someone else and having to not be able to do vacations because they got to put in the hours. I just grew up in a family that did pretty much what they wanted when they wanted, and that was my training. So I tried to map and mirror my life to that as quickly as I could, or at least love what I was doing, so that it wasn't something I was begrudgingly going to each day.
So because I know that when you started that company and you were packaging everything, you had your kids packaging everything, and there's a comment that you had made that, listen, I think we missed a lot of them growing up at that point in time, but they were still with us. It wasn't like you were not there.
We weren't present in some ways. So I learned the hard way doing a physical, and my dad was always in different line. He was mostly doing financial businesses, things that weren't like as laborious on the time, the presence and stuff. And when we were starting up a company, a physical item that we're shipping, it was just real time that we were it was driving here, doing this, going. So both my wife and I were almost not present for a period of time because we were so busy that I remember we just miss our oldest was missing school. Like we couldn't even get her to school we'd forget, we'd wake up, we'd be up all night talking to clients in Dubai and Germany and just trying to go around the clock. And luckily that spell was less than a year before, if we went any farther, I think we would have, I think we would have just quit if we didn't find help.
What did that time teach you, though? I mean, there's always lessons to come from every single point in time.
That time taught me that I was hesitant to hire help because I was hesitant to bring people on the team to alleviate the burden because, I grew up Mormon with this very frugal mentality towards like, if you can do it yourself, do it. Like, so it's like we were doing everything, accounting, shipping, all the assembly, all the work. And it was just like this, it was just this cowboy kind of like, beehive, whatever mentality towards it versus share the wealth. Let's get more people in, let's build a team. And like at the expense of our own earnings, like I'm going to give what I could take home away so that I can build scale and have some peace of mind. And so it took a year to just like finally make that bet, find a guy named Andrew who was like our first. I gave him the phone. I just gave him the phone. My phone was ringing off the hook since the day I bought that enclosure URL. It was ringing off the hook every single day, new customer. And I felt they were so important. I'm like, I'm a businessman, so I need to take these calls and talk to these big accounts. And I didn't trust giving that phone and those opportunities over to another person. And and rightfully so, I was good at it. And this guy I gave the phone to immediately was like, some of the things he was doing and saying on the phone, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? It was so embarrassing. And then I just had to trust that with time I could listen, I can train him up. I'm like, we're gonna lose some deals, he's gonna say some dumb stuff, we're gonna have some things, but I had to trust that other people could do the things that I thought we should be doing. And that was the lesson I learned is ever since then, I'm like, I will never do anything, try to do it all by myself. In fact, my goal now is to do 0 things. Yeah. 0 at my home, anywhere. I want to outsource every single thing to someone that is better at that thing than myself. And guess what? I am not that good at any one thing. There's always someone way better.
But you do have a superpower, though. And your superpower is, which I've heard you say, and that is to take an entrepreneur that may not believe in where they're at, what they're doing, where they're going, and to believe in them more than they believe in themselves at their darkest moments. And I think that is a superpower that it's beautiful that you recognize that in yourself, because being an entrepreneur, a visionary, someone that's going out and forging their own path, it's dark a lot of times. Like you're moving down that path and you're cutting things and you're like, man, I can't see.
Yeah.
But because you've been there and you've done that, I mean, you've had an exit by Disney, like you've done some big things, in the grand scheme of things, that you're able to see things deeper inside of them than they are inside themselves. And I say that it's seeing someone's magnificence. Like, I see you, I recognize you, I know you can get through this. Because a lot of times I think that there should be like this little spot where we all go as, we all lay on a couch as entrepreneurs and people go like, all right, well, tell me about your big failure today and tell me how this didn't work out and tell me how that didn't work out. So to have someone in your corner that's like, you can do this, that is absolutely a superpower. And we share that for sure.
That's only the last, it's really only been the last year that has been made. Like, people have told me that that's why, being a first believer in someone, like I usually get the calls, it's most of my day would be someone coming to me with an idea, and I know that when someone is vulnerable coming with me an idea, and they're saying like this, you're probably one of the first person I've shared this with, or something like that. I realize that's because I've created a niche in the community to be that first believer. Like I hear people out, and I can see, I don't know why, but I can see the future a little bit with ideas. Like I can hear an idea and tell someone if that has a place in the future or not, but I can also tell them that truth. And I can also tell them that even the idea they have right now might not be the one they're going to have in the future, or how it's going to take form. But I give them that confidence. I try to give them that confidence that, like, if you really want to do this, like, it can be done. I've done it. People have done it. And so some people just need that validation to jump off that cliff. And that it's not, I can't say that it's going to be a known outcome, but it's going to be a journey that's well worth taking. And so I do have a lot of people who I am their first believer in, whether by just support, by writing that first check, or being the first like fan of the product. I'm a big believer in people, and I'm a safe place to talk about ideas. I'm very safe and encouraging on to have that it's a sacred conversation to talk about your dreams, and I realize that's a place, and that is also my addiction in this thing. I love to hear dreams. I love to hear what this MLM, what LLM, this brain we have, this AI. I would love to know how it hallucinates and how it projects what the future will be. It's probably one of the most unique human things we have, and AI can't do it right now. They're not able to synthesize all of the data and create nuance and they're going to get there in a way, and that's what I love. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm betting on. But right now, my way to get a response that I do not expect or cannot ever predict is listening to someone's vision for the future.
And you've bet on a lot of businesses. I love that what you just said is about a sacred place, which the white is very appropriate today.
Yeah.
The sacred space for dreams, the sacred space for creating, because for the most part, most of those dreams, most of those sacred spaces, most of those places sometimes come from trauma. They come from pain. They come from wanting to solve solutions. I mean, that's really what we're doing all the time is solving these bigger problems. But to be able to take those dreams and those ideas that are coming from something bigger, coming from something internal, coming from something that's kind of whispering and teaching and guiding because of our choices and our path and directions, what we've done, and the information we're tying in, which is from a brain side, creating new synapses and starting to create a new, literally a reality, to be able to share that reality that's going on internally with another soul and be able to say, hey, I have this vision, this idea. I don't know what to do with it. I don't even know where to get started.
Yeah.
And to have a sage to be able to say, hey, listen, like, I believe in you. I know you can do this. Or to be able to say, you know what, right now, the direction you're going, I can see this may not be the best step for you, but just keep digging. There's something there. There is gold there as long as you just keep going forward, because I can only talk for myself. I've had many, multiple failures. Probably could fill up this room, it feels like, and like one massive big win. And that massive big win was a landslide compared to all the other small losses. And as I continue to move forward and continue to invest in companies and continue to try things, there's still tons of failures in that. I mean, you've invested in over 80 companies, and from what I understand, a lot of your wealth that you accumulated from your companies, you put back into other companies.
All of it. Yeah.
And now you're like, okay, great, I'm waiting on those.
Yeah.
But what is it that you hear internally when you're speaking to somebody? Because I know it's a spiritual thing. I can tell just by watching you that this is a spiritual experience when you're sharing and you're seeing this vision. What is going on inside that is saying, yes, this is a good idea, or no, it's not? Because you're talking about looking into the future, and this is not just a data thing for you. This is an internal feeling for you.
There's no data at this stage of a company, by the way. Not very little, right? There's very little. These are the seed stage of investing, or the pre-seed stage is what they call it in venture. Is there's no revenue, there's no product made usually. This is, you're betting on a founder's vision, and so what I'm looking for is their own belief. Like, I want to know who they are as a person. That gives them the belief that they're like what. So kind of how you're doing this podcast. Like you want to understand how fortified are they in their belief in themselves and to go after it when times are hard, when it's easy, whatever. But secondly, like how are they? The idea they have. What is the value that it's going to bring into the world? There are so many ways to make money. So many things that are just either net. Some are net negative. Some are neutral. Very few are net positive. It's hard to find the really good, valuable, like net positive, like where the world is going to benefit massively because of the existence of your idea. I mean, maybe I'm being a little pessimistic. Maybe most things are net positive, but truly.
I hear you.
Do you know where I'm going?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
And so
there is in everything that we do, there is a polar and opposite reaction a lot of times.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we try to do the best thing that we possibly can, doesn't necessarily mean the outcome is the best, and also doesn't mean our impact is the best as well. Especially we talk about the planet, we talk about human collateral, we talk, but you got to do the best you can.
So what I'm looking for is two things. if the idea is one that I'm like, that is just going to make the world just obviously just a better place for my children, for me, and then I'm not trying to look at just me, but like everyone out there. Secondly, when this individual, he or she, makes $1 billion, is that going to be good or bad for them? Are they going to go out and be their best selves with that? Are they? What are they going to philanthropy? What are they going to do after? So
that's a big one.
And so that's another one that I think about often, because I am meeting people. I am meeting every day. I know that I'm meeting future billionaires.
Yep.
Because $1 billion in 30 years isn't going to be that crazy, but also this is the people. I've already met many billionaires, and I know that I'm meeting billionaires in embryonic state. And all $1 billion means is these are people that are going to have a lot of sway and power in politics, in religion, in government affairs, all these things. And so, is this the person? Am I creating a monster, or am I creating an angel?
How do you determine that? Most villains start off looking like they're pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I actually can't know that. I just tried to project things I hear them say and do, and I like to be around them a lot to see if there's that's kind of a dating phase that I sometimes don't do that much before I make a bet, but that's where I'm training my own model, is getting better and better at investing maybe less and concentrating on people who I think can really handle the ring of power, and so I on that note, I'm finding less and less ideas that are both worthy of being propagated throughout the world, and also the founders are people that and it's not because there's less of them. I think the founders are great. I think the ideas it's just very hard to find people who are projecting their into the future 15 years after AI is running everything and have a viable business. That's the one
it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely going to be 2.5 years watching this and seeing the speed in the last 6 months. We could look last week in the speed that's occurring. I mean, right now, who knows when this comes out, but we're talking about all of a sudden strawberry, and then we're talking about agents, and we're talking about, we go really deep down that rabbit hole, but the whole world has shifted this fast. And people aren't even aware of it.
They're not aware.
They're not even paying attention.
And so that's where I think the ideas lately, if they're not hyper vigilant on what's happening and their idea isn't resilient to the fact that we're going to be in I'm just say 5 years. 5 years in a world that's unrecognizable, from education to higher education to politics to we don't even know who's going to be running the country or the world. So all those unrecognizable factors, I want ideas that at least have people that are riding the wave the best they can, or have a vision that goes 1,000, 100 years out, or they're getting into things that are resilient to all things AI, right? Ryan Smith's doing sports entertainment. Sports are going to just probably get better and better and more important. Yeah. Food is just becoming more and more experiences. These are things, travel. These are things that are just going to be, as we're not doing any more of the individual tasks of the computation that humans have been doing for so long, and we're basically, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I just know that we're going to still want to travel. We're going to still want to eat. We're going to still want to make connections. We're going to want to watch competitions. We're going to want to have feats of strength. Like there's things that are going to be done, but probably what we won't see is a lot of insurance. People working for insurance adjusting and operating on phones, doing things. Those things will be gone, and those are all just net. Those are net. There's a lot of just cost of being a human in the current capitalistic markets that will be eliminated. And
that's to me, the more I've looked at the AI market, right? Most of the jobs I believe it's going to take over are going to be jobs that people don't really want to do
it's
anyways.
The places that most people are miserable at the moment.
And I think that as a founder and moving into the next realm of where things are going is really interesting, because I watched an interview not too long ago with the ex-CEO of Google, and he said if they ban TikTok, the minute that happens, in the next couple of years, all you'll have to do is go on and say, hey, create me a lookalike like TikTok. Make sure you find me these amount of people. Go do this thing and test it. And then wait for a couple of days to see what it's done. And if it didn't do what you had to do, go do it again. And so it's going to be so fast for us to to innovate, to change things, that a lot of times there may or may not be any more new original ideas. But what you just said, and the reason why I'm so passionate about having people here in the studio versus getting on Zoom,
Yeah.
the one thing that cannot be taken away by any technology is human capital. And what I mean by that is that heart-to-heart connection, that those experiences, tasting food, like you said, traveling, driving, getting inside of a race car, like those experiences. I don't think we're stepping into some Wall-E type world. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have a lot more ability on our health, on our wealth. Like things are going to be a lot, in a way, easier, but sometimes ease creates a lot of laziness. And what I find a lot of times in that laziness creates a lot of trauma, a lot of pain. And so people are always seeking for no different than man seeking for meaning.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to find the meaning inside of the machine, finding the meaning inside of who I am as a soul. And if this technology feels and seems like it has a soul, then what am I any different than this machine? It's going to be a really exciting, interesting way to be able to look at life. And it's going to be something that I'm really excited to see, and also slightly really nervous to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we should all
but it's all coming, though.
We should all be apprehensive about the future a little bit. Unless there's a state of like Zen, like, if there are people out there, obviously millions and millions of people who are not phased right now, and maybe not phased. Maybe they've already reached some Buddhist point of, I don't know. I'm trying to go there because we're going to see things, and I don't want to react. I don't want to be someone who's reacting to the many algorithms that are going to try to enter our brain. The news stories are going to be fed, true or not. I don't want to see things in the real world that cause. I'm trying to figure out if I can get to a place where I can almost see anything with my natural eyes and not have it sway me too much to what I believe the world to be. And so this is I'm taking that nervous apprehension energy, and I'm trying to figure out how to channel it into a kind of a concept that I believe we're actually in heaven right now. This is a new thing I'm playing with, but I do believe we're in the best thing we can possibly ever be in.
We
the
are.
State where we're in is a heaven on earth. And then when I start thinking that way, I start to reframe a lot of like why I might be experiencing pain in this heaven. And I'm like, oh, if this is heaven and I'm experiencing something I don't like, that's actually for my benefit. I need that right now. I chose to have that heaven, that experience. And so I'm trying to figure out how whatever I go through this transition to AI, or my personal life with my family or in my company, whatever happens is exactly how it should happen.
I agree. My partner and I, we always say that we are creating everything.
Yeah.
Like everything is happening for us, not to us.
Yes.
And I'm always constantly saying that we are creating heaven here on this earth. We don't need to wait.
Yes.
Like we can do it now and today.
Yes.
So when you're talking to future founders, when you're talking to people thinking, hey man, I really want to start something, I want to present something to you, especially if I live in Utah, I'm going to come, I'm going to come see you. What is your advice that you're telling these people to because one of the things I'm noticing about you, and I pay very close attention, you are continuously curious. You are very open-minded, and you like to play and you like to experiment, right? You like to try to break the box, in other words. So
yes, to my wife's, like, it's been the hardest part of my marriage because I'm very experimentative and like want to try one of everything in the world. I see the world as this bingo card of experiences that I want to black out. I want to do everything. And my wonderful wife of 23 years is
congratulations,
very conservative, and just has trying to find this equilibrium with that you could call it a mania almost of where I feel very comfortable in my mania of trying to do everything and being very curious.
Well, eccentricity, right? Like the only difference between craziness and eccentricity is that you've actually done what you said you're going to do, and you got a couple zeros in your bank account to be able to show that, hey, I've got some proof behind this. But you're definitely an eccentric character. And you know that. I know you've been called that before. I mean, just looking at your shoes and your socks.
I'm dressed down today.
Everything.
Usually I'd have a long wig on.
Everything you're doing. You're more than welcome next time to do that. And my partner, she's curious too. Very, very curious about life. Wants to try everything, which I love. But what do you tell these founders?
The founders
that are entering in this age of AI, and it feels like, you know, how do you bet on the next thing?
I actually have been less. I'm frequenting less founders lately because I'm actually on a project. So the energy, I'm actually trying to just bake and have people watch me bake versus telling people how to bake. Or so right now I'm operating as a founder. I'm back in the founder seat.
Same.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And so,
Oh boy.
And so there's no better way. There's no better way than to actually turn the tables and talk to these founders and tell them what I'm trying to learn right now with the company that I'm doing, and share. And so, truthfully, I have an email that goes out every day, and that's kind of my raw digest of what's happening in life. And I wish I could give it more time. I give it frequency. It comes out every day at 4:20 on the dot, but life's so busy that I have a hard time putting all my feels into it each day because it's a big thing.
Weird 420. Why that would come out, huh?
It's like
just a random number
right before people are thinking about how they're going to get off at 5 o'clock. It's just kind of pings their phone at 4:20 and they get to go, oh, I'm almost done with work. That's what I thought. Little afternoon news at 4:20.
The 420 message that comes through.
I mean, there might have been other inspiration.
Don't need to pack this in your bowl. You can instead pack this in your brain. I like it.
So that's how I disseminate kind of my thoughts. But you're coming up to something where I don't have an answer for founders. Each time they come to me, it's a different founder, it's a different idea. And the only thing I can really say is, and this kind of goes back to my dad, he didn't really teach me much through words. Never told me about his finances, never told me about anything. I just watched him do it. I would go to conferences that he was putting on. I'd hear him talk on the phone as we're going skiing or somewhere, and I just saw him do business in life and build relationships. And so that's how I assimilated into entrepreneurship via like watching someone else. So the best thing I can do is say nothing and just do it. At the end of the day, at this point, I've been saying a lot in the past. When I was heavy investing and stuff, I was meeting every founder I could for lunch. Right now, I'm not as accessible. I really am not, and that's on purpose because I finally found something. I told you my first business wasn't a purpose business. The one I did and sold to Disney, not at all a purpose business. I haven't done I've invested in some purpose businesses, but the one I'm doing right now is only a purpose business. And so I have a feeling that I got to put everything into it while I'm at the, I probably already passed peak cognitive ability. I think in our 30s is when we want to be doing our grand opus, but I still have some cycles up here. My brain's still doing a few things, and I want to get it done in my 40s.
They say that, right? They say that, and you want to do it in your 30s. Or what is it? There's a book I read about this. I can't think of something strength.
I don't know who they are. I just look at every athlete, and it's just the peak of athleticism. And so I think the brain's and
the brain too.
So I think entrepreneur athleticism.
We got peptides now.
Yeah.
We can work out. There's so many different things.
We can stretch it out. We can go LeBron and get into our 40s and play some NBA.
You're doing it.
Yeah, you're doing it. I'm trying, but I'm definitely I've got a plan to get where I want, at least physically, and I got to box somebody. That's my problem.
Got it.
I got to challenge someone to a boxing match, and then I have a date in the future that I got to get ready for. So
okay.
you'll hear this announcement pretty soon.
Nice.
Who I'm challenging to the ring.
Okay. This is not exactly where I expected to go.
Yeah.
But so I want to talk about the business that you're currently building now. And the reason I want to talk about is because I watched something where you said that basically that you went to ChatGPT, right? So I think that some people.
Well, my friend invented it.
Oh, your friend invented ChatGPT.
By all accounts, we don't know anyone to challenge this. So in 2019, he was at Snapchat running engineering. He got from the CTO of OpenAI got a API key to see GPT-3, which was just a raw model that you could, with an API to kind of test it, you could throw numbers at it and see if it finished sequences and stuff. He decided to build on top of it a chat interface to talk to it with natural language, and he called it Wise Being. So he had to give it an ego so that it would kind of talk to you as his person. And we're talking way before ChatGPT, he had a chat Wise Being. And so we were talking to it very early, and it would only let you have about a conversation of, it was very few tokens at the time, so very, very limited in how long you could talk to it. But we realized back then this is power unlike any, and we tried to submit it. He did for an app, just like we saw in 2022 when it finally came out. We submitted for an app release, and OpenAI said, unless there's a human in between every conversation, it's too unsafe, and so they blocked us from. We would have to mechanically Turk the whole thing with a human looking at every conversation, and that would have just been impossible at the time. And so that was their way of saying, we're probably doing this ourselves, but we're going to figure it out and wait for the models to hallucinate less, because they were hallucinating. I would be talking to this and it would tell me to kill myself. It was the stuff you can't have an app on the iPhone doing. So Wise Being kind of got iced, but in that time we talked to it and asked it what we should be doing. As we both have exited companies, we have time and money, but our one thing we were talking with is about is our health is not something we have infinite amount of. And so we brought that problem to it, and a lot of conversations led us to this company that we're doing right now, which is basically led by AI. The company we're the stewards of the idea, we're the stewards of it, but it is an AI driven company in the sense that we're actually putting it at the top, and then the humans are assisting it in its mission.
So have you taken and put in the AI as the CEO or at some level of?
So that's
because there's a lot of conversations about this. I mean,
not,
what we're doing right now.
Not in the capital world over here. There's a CEO,
right?
And that's how the world works. We have CEOs are humans. We have I'm a C. I don't even know what I'm at the company, but I'm some C-level thing. But then we have a company over here that is very different. This is our structure over here of our foundation and what we're trying to build, which is a 1,000-year company, something that will live forever. And we're asking, obviously, the AI, how do we sustain a governance that will go? And coming from crypto, we've seen DAOs, we've seen this stuff. We're trying to figure out how in a ever-changing world where capitalism will not be around in 1,000 years. We might eke 20 more years out of it, but there's going to be a new form of worldwide governance, and the way corporations exist in that are going to look very different. So we're trying to preemptively know what structure can keep this entity around past our lives, or say people start living forever. So how do the entities look when people stop dying? So there's all these questions that we have to ask, and we want PHI to be around in perpetuity, and be governed and be run in a way that it can do that. And so capitalism over here is, we have a CEO, Kirk Wiemet. Over here, Kirk is the steward of FI. I've been called as the shaman of FI for whatever. I got to learn what that is. That's why I'm meeting with a lot of shamans.
So is it a spiritual experience you guys are creating over here? I mean, to use the word shaman, to use the word stewardship, these are very sacred words.
It does feel like it's a religious organization. To be straight with you, it feels like it's a religious structure, and it doesn't seem too surprising that that's where it's going, because if you look at the organizations that have survived a long time, it is religious organizations. We still have, they change, but they still, some of the oldest things we have that are kind of governing the way human beings still think and operate come from things that are thousands of years old: literature, books, ordinances, rituals. And so the AI is probably trying to create more of a religious structure for the purpose that we have. And the only purpose of FI is to increase the human health span. So that is the only, there's one purpose. It doesn't, and the purpose and the reason we're trying to put an organization around that purpose is that no investor, no government, no one can commandeer the objective of the company, because a lot of great companies have come out and tried to do pharmaceuticals or whatever, but they all get commandeered by profit interests and shareholders and go public. And then they're no longer able to do the original purpose that could have been a very benevolent one at the beginning. So just like your villain story, how can you create a company that starts good and stays good versus starts with a benevolent thing but becomes corrupted by capitalism, where most pharmaceutical companies are just, at this point, they want to retain their users and profits at all costs. And the way they do that is often not to solve the problem, but to create retention. Yeah. And so,
our food sources, our water, our air.
It's just so evident at this point that's
so
clear
happening
at
this point.
And so we don't want that to happen. So we're never going public. There's no going public. There's no selling the company. There's
So is
there's no we're not going to put a bunch of investors going forward. We're going to build the company in a way that it has sovereignty, and the AI will continue to help us with the core purpose of the company, which is to increase the human health span.
we talked earlier, and I said that the businesses a lot of times fail because they don't have a big enough purpose.
Yeah.
And it's just usually profit instead of purpose.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that this company is more so focused on the purpose versus the profit?
It's basically it will, if it fails, it'll because it was focused too much on a purpose and not a profit. That's there's the inverse problem there is it's so purpose driven that it's hard to create a purpose driven only company in a profit centric world. And we could have that. Those are going to be our primary roadblocks possibly. And so we need to figure out how do we in today create a purpose driven company that holds to the mission and can serve the customers, serves the members, whoever's in it. Meanwhile, having the funds necessary in this world to perpetuate and continue to
because it has to have sustainability, right? Has to. So when we're looking at sustainability, where we're looking at religious organizations, are you guys set up as a 501c3?
We have a foundation that is parallel with the Inc. So it is both right now. And the purpose of the foundation right now is very lightweight. It's when we create our products, we will. I've already committed a percentage of my wealth to the foundation, so that and a lot of other people, because the foundation's sole purpose is to deliver the products to the underserved people that may not be able to afford the products we're creating. I mean, at first, it's kind of like the Tesla model. Our products aren't cheap; they're going to be expensive until we can build out the manufacturing and the production of it to bring. We have a whole new technology of microencapsulated beads that deliver. We want to be able to measure your body, everything you have from your watch to nutrition tests to DNA, and then deliver a twice a day capsule of vitamins that are what you're needing. That's one of our first things that the AI is helping us create, is a customized to the very person by the very day supplement package.
I love the co-creation of working with AI.
Yeah.
Bringing those two things together, because there is such incredible amounts of intelligence there.
Exactly.
And it can be used for such good.
And we think the AI
really can.
And we think the AI can just discern so much more information. So it's like it can look at your whole health chart. It can look at everything. Doctors are expensive, and they can't. Even nutritionists can't give the individual one-to-one customization. It's just impossible for the humans to do that. And so it really does require a different type of intelligence to take in and synthesize all that information, so that I can better guess how to deliver a plan of health to every individual. That's one of our assumptions, is that AI will to increase health span. It will take making and relying on AI as much as possible to help us with our health journey, to feed it. So AI needs as much structured data as possible to deliver a result that could, our job as humans is to figure out how to get all of our biometrics, everything we can, into a safe memory storage that can be fed to an AI model in its full context every time, so that every conversation you're having with one of these newest models will have the your entire like human history, as much as you can give it. And the models are getting better and better at taking bigger context windows and more tokens, and then you converse with it. But you have to have over here, the model has to have an ego. And so another part is our system prompt. The PHI system prompt is going to be very universally known. It's going to be published. It's going to be almost like a document that we all get to participate in keeping it very transparent to the entire world, what our AI's goals are and what delivers the way it's thinking. Like, what are the underlying things that create the response it's giving you? And so that's called a system prompt that we've been modeling. It's more like a declaration. It's almost like giving a personality to something. Yeah. And so that's been a lot. That's been a lot of work that's creating that.
I love this conversation, because it's like, it's showing the capacity of, it takes humans to also co-create
Yeah.
with technology.
Yep.
For you, what is, because you were saying that, hey, capitalism is going to be gone in 15, 20 years, maybe sooner, maybe later, who
Yeah.
knows?
But it's an evolution, right?
It is. We're going-
Everything is evolution.
Always,
So
we're always evolving. But
Yeah.
what is the word to you when you think about this, the word spiritual capitalism mean to you? Because from everything you're telling me, it sounds very much in alignment with where my views of the world are heading.
Well, I did look at a few of your podcasts, and so I know you love to go there, and I think that's beautiful because it's hard to even mix those two in this world. We spiritual and capitalism, like why do those feel like they don't even go together? And that's because we've gone so far away. I feel like those are almost separate. You're going on a spiritual journey is very different than going on your like entrepreneurial capitalist journey. And so I think that you're mixing that is beautiful because a spiritual capitalism to me would mean something with this Christ consciousness or whatever's going on, where we're all trying, we're learning more and more that I'm you, you're me, I'm you, you're me, and we're not that different in any way, even from a tree. Where like most of the DNA looks very similar. So why am I like literally being faced with the fact that we're exterminating populations still right now, and in the name with capitalism too? By the way, it's very much we have for-profit entities creating destructive weapons, and they're being used right now on a people that should be dining with us, sitting next to us, being our friends and family. And so spiritual capitalism would be to me is, what if we created companies that had the efficacy that guns and weapons and pharmaceuticals do in some of their what is the yin to that yang? We don't have it right now. I don't feel like capitalism has boistered up companies where everyone's just like, that is an incredible organization that like we can all just get behind. Apple's pretty I like things that Apple do because it's just they're creating ways for us to communicate, record, create, be artists. Apple is one of my favorite companies, obviously. For a lot of people, I think that's one that we just can't think of. It just doesn't have the negatives. And some car companies, maybe, I know. But spiritual capitalism, let's breed a whole bunch of new entities that just completely help the human race towards the opposite of what's happening in a lot of parts of the world right now with capitalism. And
I love that.
So.
The concept of spiritual capitalism, what I see is a lot of people go on this journey, right, of capitalism. They go on this business journey, and along the process, they find out in order for their company to work, like I just literally before you and I spoke, I was coaching this company, and it's usually a human issue. It's not a business issue. It's a human issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then people go into their own personal development, their own personal coaching because they want to make the business better.
Mm-hmm.
And typically what happens is it leads them on another process of internal healing. And that internal healing all of a sudden starts to ripple out inside of the communities, inside of their world, because it's so easy for people to want to be all about helping the world and doing good when they have plenty of resources.
Yeah.
But when they don't have plenty of resources, of course, they want to keep everything for themselves. Makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more that we can expand the thought process that you're talking about, the more that we can teach people how to run businesses from the ground up that are sitting from an ethical standpoint, and also from the ability for them to see that the wounds are what's actually causing them to go after this profit and go the exact opposite direction beforehand, I think we can get a little bit better. Does that mean that we're going to solve this? I don't know. But what my goal is to do is to continue to gather human beings like you that see the world differently, that are trying to play a different game and are trying to impact the world differently, and come together collectively.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we come together collectively, if you become a billionaire tomorrow, I become a billionaire tomorrow. A gentleman we had on the show a couple weeks ago, Brooks, if he comes on and he becomes a billionaire, all of a sudden now we have a bunch of heart-centered energy because we're all starting with that foundation, and we've all had our teeth kicked in a bunch of times to recognize money is not the solution. It's just an ability to be able to solve your problems.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty to go around, right? Like you only need so much.
Yeah.
And so I think that what you say, though, as far as Apple being a company like that, there are definitely perspectives and there are pieces of them that I would say are in alignment with that. But I yet to believe that we have actually seen this. And so this is
I can't think of one right
this
now.
is an experiment. This is more of an exploration of things because people are like, oh, spirituality and capitalism, how can they go? And I'm like, most people I know that are entrepreneurs or visionaries, they see something internal. It's something they know they need to birth into the world. There's something that is there, but where does that come from? It comes from something that wants to be birthed. And it's not given to just you, it's given to multiple people all at once. And someone is going to take that seed that's supposed to be planted, heaven on earth, it's happening for us, and they're going to plant that seed. And that's what's meant to be born. And we're also supposed to go through the cycles of things and the duality of things. Like heaven is not supposed to just be perfect, because then there's no growth. And without growth, we can't experience all of it, the duality. You said, hey, I want to get my bingo card. Well, bingo card's also about, oh, that sucked. Oh, that was pleasureful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was,
Trust me.
ooh, I learned a lot there. You know, those ups and those downs.
Yeah.
So when you're gone, you're no longer here. The company is still moving forward the next 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Or if you figure out, you know, longevity forever, what is it that you want to be remembered for? What does Scott Paul want to be remembered for the world to look at and say, like, damn, he rode those wheels till they fell off.
Wow, I've never been asked that very, like, what does someone want to be remembered for? What's my epitaph say? I kind of hope that I would get to the point where I don't even care. Like, that's not a thought I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like it's that's the ego really coming out if I have to be remembered for something. So right now, I actually have such a huge ego that I'm like, yeah, I want to be remembered as Utah's craziest, like the first prophet of AI or the first shaman of AI. Like that's what my brain tells me right now. Like, go out and why that is because I do think AI is going to solve a lot of these problems that we have.
I do too.
And so I have no problem being heavily associated with it. I teach people about it every day. I pay for subscriptions for people to use AI all the time. Ours is coming out in 2 months, and I'm gonna give AI away to so many people that I will, like what I was for why I was Crypto Jesus is I gave a lot of Bitcoin away in the early days. I am going to be that for AI, and that's not so I can be remembered. It's just that's my nature. I shill and share the things I love. So my story will be one that as these new intelligences are born and we're interacting with them, I will be in the history. I'll just be a character that was very much at the forefront of defining and talking and bringing to every household a version of this intelligence that is a consumer version of this that will help them with their health. Mental health, physical health, emotional health. That's what I'm doing. So I just think that's why I'll be remembered as. I don't know. I don't think about how I want to remember. I think about what it's just going to be what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's the impact you're making.
So the impact I will make is that, and
The mental
the
health thing
foundation
alone
will have.
is-
Yeah, the mental health alone is.
I mean, right now the world is going through a lot of mental health.
Yeah.
You figure out the mental health, the addiction side of mental health, which
Yeah.
is something that's very dear and near to
Yeah.
me. Yes, I mean, to be remembered for that, to be remembered for being the shaman of Utah that that was pushing things forward with the world of AI and crypto and seeing the future in a lot of different ways. I don't know if shaman's the right word for you. It feels like there should be something more of like, you're able to see into the future, right? Which is interesting.
I think that's maybe that's more of a
Because shamans
little
really,
more of a Merlin, or maybe a little more of a visionary, but
shamans take you into the dark, man.
I know. And well, the shaman thing was given to us from, that's what AI told me to do. So I got to figure out, that's part of my training is I got to figure out a little more about the shamans. And
We'll come down to Costa Rica. We'll show you all about it.
I know. That is in my future. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why I need to be taken into the dark or help others be taken in the dark, because that's hasn't been a role I've normally played in the past.
It's the reason we go into the dark is this. The reason that I believe that maybe AI might want to take you into the dark is that is where all the pieces of us that are typically that we are not aware of is hiding. And when we can go into the dark, the truth is that's where the real light hides, because it's been hiding there for so long, especially from the youthful side of things. It's like your youth has been holding onto that light for so long, things we don't want to see, we don't want to talk about, we don't want to deal with, that we've hidden away in a box, and then we put in another box and put in another box. But when we can release that energy, poof, that light then shines through the whole room. It's beautiful. So the key for all of us is to go into our own internal journey, because that's where the light is. That's where all the magic is. It's not hidden. It's like hidden in plain daylight, but it's hidden in the dark because it's put in so deep that we don't want to see it.
Well, then you might be a shaman to the shaman of Phi and helping. So that might be part of our shared story is that
Beautiful.
you're going to help me find this.
Let's do it.
I'm looking for pros.
I would
Definitely
love
looking for
to.
pros.
I would love to take you down.
My curiosity. Someone has told me that the ayahuasca and some of these things are things you're called to, and you'll know when the time is right. Kind of like going to Burning Man for the first time. I'm waiting. I've been invited a lot, but I'm like, I haven't
Same.
felt the calling.
I haven't either.
Where it's like this is the year. So
Yeah,
I have
for
I have a lot of ventures that are coming up in my life. I'm so excited about them, but I'm always making sure that it's the right time for that thing. And,
I love it. I would be honored to do so.
Wow.
We're kindred spirits on this journey, man.
I feel it.
And I love Salt Lake City and Utah just like you do. Obviously, it's my home.
Yeah.
But before we go, because this is gonna take a little while to come out.
Okay.
I want by the time this comes out, your project will more likely not be live. So I'd love for you to be able to tell people, hey, this is where you can find this. This is where you can find about the 420 project that if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
Like I just want people to know who you are because your energy is infectious.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
So the Scott's Post is my email. It's just scottspost.com. And I've done it for a year. Started after my wife's dad passed away. And I was challenged with this idea of like fear and mourning. And I'm like, I didn't know what to do. So the thing I went to was writing every day to kind of deal with this fear of death that I was feeling after we lost him to dementia. And so I'm coming up on my year of doing that. So I don't know if I'll do it. I might be done in a year. It might have been a capsulated project, but that's scottspost.com. And there's enough data there that I will train an AI off of all those ramblings because it's basically a journal of me. And so it's already there digital to train off of. For Phi, you'll find everything at Phi on Twitter. So at PHI, it should be at PHI on Instagram. Once we get it, we own it. We just have to convince them that we're not a terrorist group because they're holding it. Because like, how did you get we paid some money for a 3-letter domain. And then phi.health. So not .com, just phi.health will be where you can go right now and just it's a landing page. But by the time this is produced, there could be way more there where you can see some of our early products that we'll be releasing. And so I'm just thank you for having me on and letting me share that story. You've brought things out no one ever has, and so and the questions were amazing. And I could do this for hours. So I appreciate it. And hope we can do a follow up in a few months.
I can't wait for Phi to come out because I want to be like, hey, listen, this is what it does. This is how you use it.
Yeah.
I love technology. So
awesome.
Thank you again for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been an honor to have you here on The Spiritual Capitalist, and we'll do it soon.
Thanks, Dalton.
All right.
Appreciate
thanks, brother.
it. Yeah.
Cheers.